Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. I got a great guest coming on later on the show, Ryan Flowers from Clutch Sports Talk. He'll be here to join us to discuss some NBA and some headlines with the Super Bowl and Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, all kinds of other things. So without further ado, let's start the countdown. All right, so here you go. Carving Up Live right here. So I'm going to kick things off by discussing Matthew Stafford, who, of course, is going to be traded by the Detroit Lions. Apparently, he and the organization came to a conclusion. We're going to let you move on. We're going to do this professionally, whatever. So I've read reports about a third of the league is interested in Matthew Stafford, and he's clearly a starter. An argument can be made that he's probably still a above average, upper tier quarterback in the NFL. But I think at this point, here's the question. What do you get in Matthew Stafford besides just he's a great arm? He's got a great arm. Name me the signature win. Name me the big time moment where you're like, oh yeah, Matthew Stafford, that guy can go win a Super Bowl. Okay? Because he's never won a playoff game. And I know there's some people out there saying, well, He's with the Detroit Lions, right? Inherently dysfunctional organization. They haven't won anything for like 50 or 60 years. Pre-Super Bowl era was the last time the Lions were relevant. Maybe when they had Barry Sanders that, they won a playoff game, but outside of that, just about nothing. Look at some of the receivers he had. First of all, he had Megatron. Megatron, in my view, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's eligible for this year. We can discuss, whether he's a first ballot Hall of Famer because, 9 years in the league. Maybe some people might not consider that enough because he retired early, kind of still in his prime. But Calvin Johnson was a monster. I mean, how many times in games did we see him go up over not one, not two, but three defenders? I know he did it against the Cowboys and against the Bengals. He may have done it against the Packers one time. Going up over three dudes and catching balls that look like they should have been intercepted. So you have Calvin Johnson. You've had Golden Tate when he was still in the prime of his career. Guy who could give you 1,000 receiving yards. In the one playoff game Detroit played against Dallas, Golden Tate was, they couldn't do anything to stop him. He's laying out big blocks and obviously making big catches. He had the one touchdown catch early in that game. You had guys like Reggie Bush. You could say, well, Reggie Bush in the NFL wasn't close to what he was in college. It's the case with a lot of Heisman winners, but Reggie Bush was still very effective. Let's see, look at Marvin Jones, 1,000-yard receiver. Kenny Galladay, a receiver I really, really like. I think on some teams he's the number one receiver. And so I look at it and I say, man, across the board, he's has some dang good receivers. And by the way, his head coach, you can bang on him all you want. Jim Caldwell is a heck of a football coach. I don't know why he still hasn't gotten a job to this point, because we saw what the Lions looked like after they fired him when they hired Matt Patricia and how inept they looked. And so I look at this and I say, man, obviously he's talented. He's still 33 years old. We see what Brady is doing. We see Breeze made it to 42. We see Phillip Rivers, one of the most unathletic quarterbacks in the league, make it to 39. There's not a question. Matt Stafford is one of the top 10 most talented quarterbacks in football. But he still has yet to win a playoff game. 12 years. Like, could you give me, if you're that talented, if you're that special, could you get me one playoff win? Just one. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not in a dysfunctional organization by any means, but Aaron Rodgers not once in his career has had an elite head coach. Matter of fact, the one time Rodgers had a top 10 defense, he won the Super Bowl. Okay, obviously multiple MVPs. And so Aaron Rodgers is a guy that we all acknowledge as one of the most talented quarterbacks ever. I think all time he's number 2 behind Mahomes, because I've never seen anything like Mahomes. I've never seen anything quite like Aaron Rodgers except for Mahomes. And so, but we've seen time and time again, Aaron Rodgers just put the team on his back. About to discuss Deshaun Watson a little later. We've seen times where he's put the team on his back with a bad defense, similar to Matt Stafford, good receivers, right? DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, but a bad defense, right? And a coach that maybe not everybody's the biggest fan of. But we saw Deshaun Watson in that game against Buffalo. They go down early, and they come back and they win the game in overtime with Deshaun making one of the most unbelievable plays I've ever seen, where he gets hit on one side, hit on the other, stays on his feet, rolls out, finds the running back for like 30 yards. They get the field goal. They win the game. And so the question isn't whether Matthew Stafford's talented. The question is he a winner? Is Matt Stafford a winner? Again, could you please name the signature win? He has yet to win a playoff game. Tim Tebow won a playoff game. Caleb Haney, years ago, the third-string quarterback, competed with Aaron Rodgers, went toe-to-toe with the great Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game and came that close to winning. And so, Tom Brady, for example, greatest quarterback ever. I don't know if he's one of the top 10 most talented, just talent, God-gifted talented quarterbacks ever. Obviously, he works his tail off as many quarterbacks do. But Tom's thing, he wins. Okay, we've seen quarterbacks like Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was uber talented. Marcus Mariota, same draft, uber talented coming out of college. Carson Wentz is one of the most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen, but he can't stay healthy. Carson Wentz really doesn't have a signature win on his resume. Obviously, he played in one playoff game for like half the quarter. And so here's the thing with Matthew Stafford. Put him into a functional organization with great coaching. Okay. Could San Francisco go after him? Could New England go after him? I think any quarterback outside of probably Deshaun Watson that would go to New England, I think it would be an utter disaster. And I said the same thing with Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton is still a starter in the NFL. But the situation in New England was the reason Tom Brady left. The receiving core is awful. I was seeing someone made the joke that Mac Jones, there's rumors that the Patriots might be looking at Mac Jones in the second round of the draft to be like their future quarterback or something. Mac Jones has better receivers at Alabama than he would with the New England Patriots. I mean, I don't like this at all. And so you put Matt Stafford there. Again, we're talking about a guy that had Megatron and Golden Tate and Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay, really, really high-end receivers. Calvin Johnson, one of the greatest receivers ever that we've ever seen. And no playoff wins. Okay? And so, and frankly, outside of the one Dallas playoff game, they weren't really close. I remember 2011, they were in the wild card game against the Saints, and that wasn't really a contest. One could argue they should have won against Dallas due to some questionable officiating. And then the last playoff game Matt Stafford was in against the Seahawks, they completely shut him down. And so I like him as a talent. Seems like a pretty good leader. Seems like guys that people want to follow, which is great. You want that in a quarterback. That's the only issue I have with Aaron Rodgers is I don't think he's a natural born leader. Matt Stafford appears to be that sort of dude. But is he a winner? And, we see tons of talent in the NFL at quarterback, but are they winners? Can they put a team on their shoulders for 1 game, 2 games, 3 games? Now, you don't want them to have to do it over the full season. We've seen that in Seattle with Russell Wilson, and once they get to the playoffs, he looks worn down and tired, which is why he doesn't perform up to par once the postseason comes around. But I just Deshaun's obviously the hot quarterback in the market, as he should be. I think he's top 5 in the world at his position. And Matt Stafford is still a high-end quarterback. But, man, what situation? You could say San Francisco. Now, I think Matthew Stafford would be an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo, and I like Jimmy Garoppolo. But he's had issues with injuries. Matt is obviously, like I said, more talented. And so, if San Francisco's not able to cash in and get Deshaun Watson, would they go after Matt Stafford, or would they stay with Jimmy Garoppolo, or maybe trade for Sam Darnold? I don't know. I've been on the record on this show. If the Houston Texans trade Deshaun Watson to the San Francisco 49ers, book it. Okay, book it. The 49ers are going to Super Bowl 56. And I believe at that point, I want to say they're the favorites because Kansas City's obviously not going anywhere. But, man, that would be unbelievable. So, also, another superstar in another sport who could possibly get traded in the next month or so, Bradley Beal. Now, you see on the graphic there, Bradley Beal's averaging 35 points a game. Okay, leading the NBA in scoring. And the Washington Wizards are, I think I checked the standings today, 3-11. They have the worst record in the NBA. And so, by the way, that's adding Russell Westbrook. Like, the Wizards weren't good last year. They were not a good basketball team. Obviously, Beal was amazing. Everywhere else, they were pretty average or below average at best. But they were invited to the bubble, which meant they had at least an outside chance. They had about the same chance as Phoenix, and Phoenix almost got in, but they had about the same chance as Phoenix to get into the postseason. So they were good. They weren't great. They were good. And they added Russell Westbrook, and it's a train wreck. I mean, Bradley Beal's out here scoring 40 points, 50 points. He even dropped 60. Was it 61, 60 in a game, something like that? He was in the 60s, and Washington still lost, I believe, by double digits. So and Bradley Beal's the ultimate team guy, right? He's a team player. He said a few years ago he wanted to stay with the Washington Wizards for the rest of his career. I get it. I really do. I understand wanting to be loyal to one franchise. But there comes a time and place when, similar to what we're seeing with Deshaun Watson in the NFL, when you're with an inherently dysfunctional franchise, why would you want to stay when you know you're not going to win? You're going to give everything you got. You're going to drop 60 a night. You're leading the NBA in scoring. He was second in scoring last year. I believe maybe to, I think it was to James Harden, if I remember correctly. I can't remember who the leading scorer was last year. The point is, I remember he was second. And Washington did nothing last year. They're doing nothing this year. And so I compare it to this. And I've heard a lot of NBA players, former NBA players, compare it to this. Because, guys, fans freaked out when LeBron left Cleveland to go to Miami. They're like, how could he do such a thing? How could he, jump, quote unquote, jump the bandwagon? And then it was that times about 15 when KD bounced from OKC, went to the 73-9 Warriors, right? And so my argument is this. Let's just put it in the confines of normal life, because these athletes do not live lives similar to, the rest of us, in the world. So let's say you're in a business, you're with a company, and you're making a lot of money, right? You're good at your job. You may even have good friends, good coworkers you work with. You like to work with them, but the boss is starting to drive you a little bit nuts. And there's an offer from another business that could use you, where you'd be happier, make the same amount of money, obviously be able to make new friends. Well, wouldn't you want to go there? Same pay, right? A boss you like more, right? So that's why I compare it to in professional sports. In Cleveland, LeBron cannot stand Dan Gilbert. He cannot stand that Dan Gilbert cannot get any superstar to go to Cleveland. And so I look at it and I say, man, Bradley Beal is dropping 35 per game. This is average. Okay, 34 and under is below average scoring for Bradley Beal. Just put that into context. And he's in Washington, and they are terrible. I thought Washington would actually be the 8th seed. I thought they'd just barely sneak into the playoffs. Barring some kind of crazy turnaround, that's not going to happen. I would love to see him go to a team like possibly the Lakers, who could use some three-point shooting. I thought they'd address that in the offseason. LeBron's really their best three-point shooter if you think about it. So, yeah, Bradley Beal to that. I'm about to discuss the Brooklyn Nets, and we have our questions as to whether that can work, mostly because you have Kyrie, who's a lot of work off the court, Harden, who can be, and KD, who's not exactly top-notch with the media, right? You'd add a guy in Bradley Beal who's a team-first guy. He's great with the media. He's obviously great in the community. Not to say that, Harden and Kyrie aren't, because they are. But team-first guy, he would be more than willing to sacrifice shots, sacrifice points to win. Bradley Beal appears to me to be the kind of guy who is just about winning basketball games. That's it. It doesn't matter if he scores 0 points. It doesn't matter if he scores 60. It's about winning for him. And so I would love to see him get traded to a contender, because I think he's earned that right. He's got his money. Again, you could say, well, that's a pretty big contract to pick up. I think he's making $30+ million a year. Would the Lakers, be willing to go into the luxury tax to pay him? I don't know, but I would love to see that fit. Now, joining me now is let me get him set up right here. Let's see. There we go. One of my good buddies, Ryan Flowers from Clutch Sports Talk. How do you doing, man? Oh, wait. I think you're muted. Here, hold on. There you go.
All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Perfect, man. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing, man. It's great to have you on the show. And before, real quick, we get into anything, just for the viewers out there, this dude's the best. He helped me, get this live stream going. Helped me with overlays and right here with StreamYard, and which is obviously what I'm using to stream my show. So thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, man, absolutely, man. Anything to help out someone else trying to do good in this world, So anytime, man.
Absolutely. So let's start with Aaron Rodgers. I've talked about Aaron all week,
Sure.
and he wasn't perfect in the NFC Championship game by any means. I felt like he really missed a golden opportunity when I was watching that game after the Packers got back-to-back turnovers, and the Packers went 3-and-out twice.
Right.
Do you think it would be beneficial to him to leave Green Bay?
I think he has more leverage. If he was to leave, I mean, obviously teams would pick him up in a heartbeat. I think the Packers need him more than he needs the Green Bay. Because, really, who's Green Bay going to land? I mean, who's their backup right now? I know they drafted Jordan Love, and I don't even think he dressed 25% of the games this year. And I don't even think he's if he's not even the third backup on that roster. So as far as him leaving, he could leave. And I think he'd probably be better off leaving because I don't think he's going to win where he's at anymore. We've seen this story now. He shows up they have a wonderful regular season. He looks great, awesome. They get to the conference championship game, and at least this time they didn't get blown out. But they kind of lost in like a very, it's kind of crushing fashion. I mean, because you had this buildup all year. He's probably going to win the MVP. I mean, there's no denying that, and you still can't even get one win. And again, you lose to a team that you already lost to earlier in the season. So to answer your question, I think he should. I think he should leave, and I think he would be better off.
I think, he hinted last offseason after they drafted Jordan Love. He said, look, I'm probably not going to finish my career in Green Bay.
Oh, yeah. No chance.
And so if you put him, let's just throw out a hypothetical, into Los Angeles with the Rams. Okay. You give him obviously a great offensive mind and not to diss Matt LaFleur, but I think any of us would take Sean McVay over Matt LaFleur. He's certainly proven more in the league. And we saw what happened with the last head coach Aaron Rodgers had. Made him look a whole lot better than he ended up being with in his second destination as a head coach. But save for Devontae Adams, Aaron's made some guys that nobody's ever heard of, Valdez-Scantling and Tunyon, and I'm trying to remember the other guy, Lazard.
Equinemius, St. Brown, all these guys.
Turn them into, guys that are looking like they could be in the Pro Bowl or something.
Right.
It goes to Aaron's greatness. So I'd like to see him in a situation where, more than anything, he gets a great defense.
Right.
Because as I mentioned before, the one time he went to the Super Bowl and won, he had a top 10 defense.
Yep. And they haven't been able to put one together for him since then.
Right. Absolutely. So let's go to another quarterback who's in the news right now. Deshaun Watson's probably the number one story in the league right now because the Super Bowl's next week. He obviously wants out of Houston. He's made that very clear to the organization.
Right.
Where do you think is the best fit for Deshaun in his clear brilliance as a quarterback?
Best fit right now, I know he wants to go to the Jets, but his skill set, he's a really good quarterback. I think anywhere he lands, I know you mentioned the 49ers, if they can pull that off, that would be great, because they have some really good talent on the outside there, pretty good defense. I know Robert Saleh won't be there anymore, but they still got some pieces in play. But are you talking about teams that are you hypothetically, or teams that are looking for a quarterback?
Yeah, teams that are looking for a quarterback that could use a guy with the talent of Deshaun Watson.
Man, honestly, the Rams would be really good. Actually, I know the Rams have Jared Goff, but they're kind of trying to move off from him. But man, that's a good question. I think honestly, I don't mind the Jets. I don't think people give the Jets a lot of credit. I know they went 2-14, but there's some talent on that team now. Offensively, they don't have the guys out there, especially like when the wide receiver or running back area. But their defense is strong enough. They did have a lot of guys sit out because they probably didn't like Adam Gase to begin with, and so they probably want to see him get out of there. But I think honestly, the Niners are really good. Who else is out there that needs a quarterback right now that's not going to draft one too? That's the other thing. So like Miami can use definitely a new quarterback. I don't think Tua is going to be the answer there. Actually, Miami would probably be my best fit for him. You pair him up with Brian Flores. They got a good defense there. They can compete in the AFC East because the Bills are good, but I don't think the Bills are going to be like perennial winners in that conference. So if I had to pick, I'd probably say the Dolphins.
Dolphins would probably be my second choice. I think one team that's maybe they don't have the cap space to do it. I don't know because he's making $40 million a year. But the Saints, I've heard brought up here and there.
The Saints, yeah.
Because Drew Brees it's highly likely he's going to retire.
But I like Jameis. I like Jameis in New Orleans. I think we could give him a chance there. But I know that's a side topic. But I see what you're saying with that. But I think they should give Jameis a shot there.
Yeah, and to your point about the Jets, they are a dysfunctional franchise. I love the hire of Robert Saleh. I thought he should have gotten a job last year, Cleveland job, which of course Stefanski got it and did an outstanding job.
Coach of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. But if he's able to build some kind of new culture, and again, I haven't seen his staff yet, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. But I think that could at least work. Could they be a playoff team next year? Maybe. We could see, but I'm telling you, if he goes to San Francisco, man, they were a throw away from the Super Bowl from beating Kansas City with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
So you had Deshaun Watson. It's unbelievable.
My thing with the Niners though is their injuries. I mean, the last couple of years they've been injury riddled. And so I would like to see them be a little bit more healthier. Now their defensive line, Bosa went down. I know they lost what's the guy, DeForest Buckner. He went over to Indianapolis this year. Their secondary, they can probably use some work there. But you're right. You add a guy like Deshaun Watson. I think he's way more dynamic than Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is overpaid. He's injury riddled as well, and I don't think he can get the job done. I think he kind of chokes up in pressure situations, as we saw in that Super Bowl last year, when easily they could have won that Super Bowl if he had just connected the ball with Emmanuel Sanders. So, but I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but Deshaun Watson, to me, man, I really don't like the situation that's going on there. I'm probably one of the few people. Maybe you might agree or not agree. I don't know, but I think that he's handling all of this totally wrong.
Really?
I do. I personally think so. I think that I don't know if we have time, but
no, we got plenty of time.
Okay. So here's my thing with him. Like, is he a talent? Yes. He's definitely a tremendous talent. He's one of the top quarterbacks in this league. But here's the thing, man. He's complaining about stuff that you already knew. He's been in the league, almost 4 years now, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I'm pretty sure he's been in contact with Andre Johnson. He plays with J.J. Watt now. Okay, so and I add those guys because basically their careers have been wasted away in Houston. Like, we know that. Like, Andre Johnson, arguably one of the best receivers I've ever seen in my lifetime.
He was amazing.
But you don't even really talk about him because Houston didn't do anything. I don't even think they won a playoff game while he was there. I mean, someone would have to check that. If they did, it was like one.
Yeah, it was
one
wild
or two.
card. I mean, they never
crazy.
They were never contenders.
Never contenders with a guy like that. And then obviously J.J. Watt, who was like the heartbeat of Houston. I mean, literally, he could run for mayor today and win probably. And then here's the thing. So he signs the contract, and this is the problem that I have. He signs the contract extension. Okay, I get it. You got to get your money. It's football. The money isn't guaranteed. I get all that. But you signed the extension after they traded DeAndre Hopkins. So you knew kind of like what this organization was all about. And now you're going to Twitter. You're demanding a trade when just less than a year ago, you were cool signing an extension, paying you a lot of money and probably taking money out of their cap space to go and probably sign somebody worth a damn. And so I'm kind of old school. I mean, so I feel like if anyone should be mad, and I'm going to turn this into like a cowboy thing, Dak Prescott should be mad because here's a guy who hasn't been paid. Guys on his team have been paid. He doesn't go to Twitter. He doesn't go to social media. And I'm pretty sure behind closed doors, he's probably like, man, what the hell is going on? And guys like Deshaun Watson, crazy. Deshaun Watson hasn't done anything in this league, to be honest. To be real,
really,
I don't think he's done enough. He's got one playoff win, which they probably should have lost anyway if Buffalo doesn't choke that game away. Really, I mean, I get it. He's doing everything on his own there. And as an organization, are they supposed to put a team around him? Yes. But at this point, you took the money. If he didn't take the money, I would say, you know what? Okay, you definitely have a gripe. But you knew exactly what you were getting yourself into when you took the money. And now, all you can do is either two things. You play and just deal with it and bide your time, or you shut up and just retire and you pull a Barry Sanders. I would have more respect for him if he did that. But I know he's not going to do that. Why? Because he needs to get paid. And that's my problem with a lot of athletes today is the fact that, they want to be social activists. They want to talk. They want to use their platforms, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes down to it, are they going to actually do anything about it? No, absolutely not. If they don't, I'm pretty sure they won't trade him. That's my thing. If they do, great. But if I'm the Houston management, I would say, no, you're going to stay right here. We're paying you all this money. And guess what? You're going to play or you're going to retire. Either way, you're not going to go anywhere else. That's just my thoughts on that.
Okay. I think I definitely agree with you. I think Dak has more of a right to be, pissed off with the organization than Deshaun Watson in Houston. I think the only thing I would push back on a little bit is we saw this happen with Andrew Luck, where Andrew Luck and Deshaun Watson's offensive lines both were horrible, and that's why I'm worried about with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. He was just getting killed last year, and so that's been my biggest issue with the Texans is they've never made the conscious effort outside about like one trade for I think Tunsil from Miami. Outside of that, they haven't made a conscious effort to draft guys, get dudes in free agency to protect their franchise quarterback. And so when you're getting hit constantly, and I think I saw a stat like they showed the top 5 quarterbacks just overall this season, passing yards, touchdowns, and all that. And he was in the top 5. The other 4 were in their conference championship games. Texans went 4-12. So I think.
But what did Luck do though? In the end.
Oh, he retired.
Exactly.
Well, that was in Luck's case. It wasn't anything with money or anything. It was just he was beat up and he couldn't take the hits anymore. I think that was the issue with Andrew Luck.
But he made a decision. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to take this money anymore. I'm just going to retire. You guys do what you got to do. So I kind of give him more credit for that. I'm not saying he's not wrong for feeling how he feels, but I feel like there's a better way to go about it. At the end of the day, it's a business. And Houston, if anything, they don't need to trade him because why? He's their best player. Who are they going to get that's going to be comparable to him? Nobody's going to give away anything for him, really. Like, you can get a draft pick here and there. And honestly, the best team right now to trade with is the Jets because they have so many high round draft picks. Other than that, you're not getting talent for talent. Maybe do you get Sam Darnold? Maybe, who knows? I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's like you signed a deal, own up to it. You knew the offensive line was trash to begin with, regardless of what they did with DeAndre Hopkins. Right. So don't be a punk and just play, man. Just play.
Okay. I feel you. All right. So let's go to the Super Bowl. It seems like this has been like a quarterback talk, but I discussed, and I'm going to put up a list here in just a second. I think this is the greatest matchup of quarterbacks that we've ever had in a Super Bowl because you have obviously the GOAT, Tom Brady, and a guy who, we've heard the kind of the narrative in the media that if Pat Mahomes wins, it'll be 6-2, and he's 25 years old. You see what he's doing his first 3 years in the league or as a starter. What are your thoughts on this matchup, particularly the quarterbacks in this game?
Obviously, it's everything. I feel like other than the quarterbacks, the teams are somewhat even. I would say for the most part. I might give a slight edge to Tampa Bay's defense, but Kansas City's defense is not that far off as well. But the quarterback play is really what's going to boil down to, and that's the NFL. I mean, if you look at all the teams that were remaining in the playoffs, it boils down to quarterback play, and that's why it's so important you get your quarterback right because they're the ones that are going to win you these types of games. Because every defense, every offense is somewhat comparable, right? But it's the quarterbacks, and these two guys are playing at a high level. So when you look at Tom Brady, he's 42, 43 years old, arguably still one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now. Patrick Mahomes, he's up and coming still. If not, he's the face of the league now. I mean, there's no denying that. He's the face of the league. He's the future of quarterbacks. He can move. He can throw. He doesn't even understand defenses yet. He's been documented saying he doesn't even really understand that yet. So imagine when he really gets that under his belt, he's going into his what? This is his third year as a starter?
This is his third year as a starter, yes.
Third year as a starter, and you've won an MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, and a Super Bowl championship, and now you're going back to a Super Bowl. This matchup, this is probably, man, I hope this Super Bowl lives up to the hype because literally Tom Brady has not let people down when he's in a Super Bowl for the most part, as far as the action and entertainment. And Mahomes is going to bring it. He's got guys he can throw to. I think this is going to be a high scoring event. Both defenses are going to be gassed. It's going to boil down to who can get after whose quarterback better. And at the end of the day, not to give away a prediction or not, I think the Chiefs have a little bit extra although Tampa does have some guys up front, I will say, but Patrick Mahomes, man, he's so hard to guard. You can't play man on them. Why? Because they got guys like Tyreek Hill
No.
who can just beat you deep. Mecole Hardman, you miss a press on him, he's gone. Kelsey roams the middle of the field, zone as well. Because if you run a zone on them, guess what? Now he has time to sit there and just wait for someone to come across, and boom. So you have to get pressure on him. And what we saw last year in the Super Bowl, the Niners they got after him, but they still made plays. I think he got sacked like at least 6 times in that game, and you would have thought, well, they would have lost the game, but no, he still won the game. So the fact that he can go off from anywhere on the field, he's literally Steph Curry on the football field. Anywhere on the gridiron, he can score. I mean, and we've seen that. Tom Brady as well, and maybe he doesn't have the same physical attributes as he used to, but he still has really good zip on the ball. He can still throw the ball deep, and his mental game, his chickens, as Marshawn Lynch would say, his mentals are still well intact. You can't be 42 and 43 and still making plays that he's making. And I get it. He's got an array of talent on that team as well. So that's why, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be who's going to make the worst mistake in that game, and that's who's going to win the game.
To your point about especially last year's Super Bowl, you're right. The 49ers all game with Bosa and Armstead and D Ford. I mean, they were in Mahomes' face. Yes, all game. And again, it was that 3rd and 15 throw off his back foot, like 50 yards down the field to Tyreek Hill that really got it going. But you made a good point about playing man coverage and how this, how Travis Kelce, can beat you, especially if you start playing zone, then he's going to beat you. If you play man, Tyreek Hill is going to have 200 receiving yards in the first quarter like he did against
and they can run the ball. They can run the ball pretty decently too.
Yes. That's what's scary is now they can do that. So I'm gonna put up this graphic here. These are, in my opinion, these are the top 10 quarterback matchups, not based on how good the game was, but how as far as time where these quarterbacks rank. This is what I got. So what do you think of this list? Let me pull it up right here.
Okay.
So I think this is the greatest ever. So
matchups, not the games being played, but you're just talking about the the matchup before the game. Okay, gotcha.
Like number 2, Montana Elway. I think Montana's the second best. Elway to me is the 4th or 5th best, but that game was a complete domination by the 49ers.
You know what? Okay. I see number 5. Yeah. I was going to say Elway Favre was a good matchup, but you got that on there.
Yes.
That's a good one. I like Montana Elway. Yep. That was a good one. Yep. Montana Marino when Dan Marino, his only Super Bowl appearance.
Yep.
That's a long time ago. How do you even know about that game? You're too young for that one.
Man, I did my research. I was looking back at this stuff.
That's a good game. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't see Roger Staubach. Oh, there it is right there. Yeah, number 6. Okay, all right, Bryson, I see you. Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, this is a really good list. Actually, this is a really, really good list. And Brady's on here twice. Manning's on here twice as well. So yeah, no, I would not disagree with this list at all.
All right, I appreciate it. So yeah, like I said, it's more about the totality of their career. And you say, well, why do you have Patrick Mahomes number 1? This is his 3rd year as a starter. I mean, are we sure that he's going to stop winning Super Bowls just all of a sudden because he's going to be making $45 million a year? Long as he has Andy Reid, they may lose Sammy Watkins in the near future. They may lose, of course, Mecole Hardman's still in the 2nd year of his rookie deal, so he's going to be there a while. Travis Kelce's going to be there for a while. Defensively, you got Tyrann Mathieu, you got Chris Jones. I mean, it's unbelievable what they're building in Kansas City.
I will say about this Super Bowl though, with them, they have to be. Eric Fisher's out. I think he tore an ACL or something like that. The left tackle, that could be a very critical injury for them as far as protection wise. But I think Mahomes is still good enough. He'll be able to figure that out.
Okay, I think. Oh, there you are. You're back. We lost you for a second. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Real quick, we got a comment here from LA Rams 23. Here we go. What can Texans do if Watson comes to practice in games has a nagging injury like Ramsey did in Jacksonville before he got traded? They can't find him, right? No, I don't think they can find him. Yeah, that's a good point. Especially like I said, the hits he's taking behind that offensive line. So let's shift the NBA now. You got the situation in Brooklyn where you got all these superstars: Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and what do you think? What are you, in your eyes, are they the favorites to win the East? Can they put this thing together? 3 ball dominant superstars and win the Eastern Conference?
Good point. Good point. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't see them winning. 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 I mean, honestly, I don't see them winning Yes, I think they can get to the Eastern Conference Final. I think they can actually win it just because they have a lot of talent. It's going to be hard for them though because they don't play defense. And if they do run into a team that's clicking on all cylinders efficiently, and I know they want to try to make a trade for Kevin Love, and I'm like, why? Because he doesn't play defense anymore. I don't think he ever really played defense, to be honest with you.
That and
And so,
his salary is crazy. I mean,
yeah.
he's
So my thing with them is if they can figure out how to play defense as a team, they're going to be dangerous. And I know it's still early in the season. I have to watch them a few more times. I know they've lost a few games here and there, but it's regular season. Who cares at this point? Because home court advantage means nothing anymore. It's empty arenas. As we saw that in the bubble, it doesn't matter. That's why teams like the Heat and the Denver Nuggets, they were all in the conference finals. But as far as the Nets are concerned, yes, if they I mean, KD alone on your team is going to get you to the playoffs. Okay, yeah, James Harden, that's another playoff series that you're going to win. Kyrie Irving is not too shabby himself. It's just going to boil down to defense. And at the end of the day, like say the Lakers make it, right? I know the Lakers have dropped two, the last couple of nights, but defensively, the Lakers can kind of match up better, I think, with the Nets. And I know that sounds crazy because who's going to guard KD? Not one person individually. I think they're going to throw guys at him for the most part because Montrez can guard out on the perimeter. The Morris twins, one of the Morris twins can kind of go out there. So it's not going to be one guy one-on-one all the time. KCP can kind of, and same thing with James Harden. But the Lakers are really good defensively, and I don't think they're done yet making moves to kind of solidify themselves. So it's going to boil down to the the Nets having to just play really good defense because that's what, in the end of the day, that's what's going to win for them. Because I've seen them score 125, 26 points and lose 127. So I know that's the new NBA. You got to score a lot, but at some point you got to like stopping people to under 100. That's not going to happen as often anymore. That's not the NBA anymore. You're gonna hit threes. Guys are gonna do that, but you can't be giving up 120, 130 plus and winning games, and especially in like a 7-game series where you're playing guys, at least 4 times. They're gonna figure out your sets. They're gonna figure out all these little, nuances that you don't see kind of during the regular season. Well, that's why a team like last night, the Pistons beat the Lakers. We can all agree that the Pistons will not beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. Right.
This regular season, they're on an East Coast road trip. It's
exactly. So, and LeBron doesn't care. And the same thing with the Nets. I mean, I know the Nets lost to I forgot who they lost to a few nights ago, and it was kind of like
Cleveland, I think.
Yeah, Cleveland. Cleveland's nice, but it's like, yeah, it was Cleveland, and it's like really like that's not going to really happen. So, I right now, if I had to look at the East alone by itself, they're probably at the top still, and I don't even know their record right now. But I know as the season progresses, they're going to get stronger. They're going to learn how to play all better together. And Steve Nash, we can't forget. Steve Nash is a new coach. He's still figuring out, his voice in the locker room, what he wants to implement, and how he wants to go about being a head coach in the NBA. So, but I do see them getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, as far as the finals are concerned, I don't know yet.
Right. Shout out to my guy, the All Even podcast with Barry Grant Jr. Hope to have him on the show soon. He said they can't stop a nosebleed, and who's teaching defensive concepts? D'Antoni, Nash, Amari. I mean, they're all offensive guys. Like D'Antoni is very famous for not having great defensive concepts in Phoenix and New York and Houston. Right. I just think when KD and Harden were playing, they looked borderline unbeatable. The problem is they couldn't get stops down the stretch. Right. My thing is, Kyrie over the course of a season, obviously he's unbelievably talented. Yeah. I love Steph Curry, but I think Kyrie Irving has the greatest handles I've ever seen. I mean, he's got the ball in a string. Yeah. He's obviously a great scorer. Yes. Oh, I was about to say great. He's great. He's the best. I don't want to say guard finisher. He's the best guard finisher that's not Westbrook, John Wall, Derrick Rose. Can dunk on you.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right. Yeah. So my thing is, trade Kyrie somewhere, and I'm trying to think of maybe a team like the Knicks, across the street with the New York Knicks. Get some defensive players, and yeah, they do. When you're not a good defensive team, the great coaches always say this. Then you got to play team defense. Yeah. And I do think KD is a good defender when he puts 100% effort into it. But this is.
But James Harden is notorious for not playing defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyrie doesn't really. We don't know Kyrie as a defender.
No.
Other than KD and DeAndre Jordan, Who else on that team is like a real like lockdown perimeter or even interior defender like that? I can't name one off the top of my head. I'd have to look at their roster, but
No,
it's not deep, and they're not deep at all. I mean, say
they traded their whole
something
bench to
happens.
get Harden.
Right, exactly. So what happens if KD goes down? You know, which could be possible. I mean, we
Sure.
never know. Or even Harden, any one of these guys. We don't even know what Kyrie's mental is. Like he might check out here soon. He might be like, I don't know. I might go and go to the flat Earth. What you call it?
Flat Earth Society or
resort
something like
or
that.
something like the flat Earth resort or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? So but they gotta definitely bolster their defense if they really want to really be contenders. But I think they're good enough because the East to me isn't that like I like Boston's nice, Philly's good, but at the end of the day, man, and I always say this: you need dudes, you need superstars, and if any league represents that the most, it's the NBA. It's
Yes.
the NBA. Superstars will carry you to pretty much anywhere you need to go in the NBA.
Yeah, and I look at the East, and listen, I like Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Although I've said, I said last year all year, I don't care. They had the best record in the league. They're not a championship contender.
They're
It's
not.
Giannis, and I'm not to disrespect Chris Middleton, all-star in the East, good player. But outside of that, a bunch of guys.
Right.
Drew Holiday, I love Drew Holiday. He's a great defender.
But he's not. None of those guys none of those guys move the needle.
Well, they can't really create their own shots offensively.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
They're a great defensive team. I think today, and I'm not just saying this because they're the number one seed. I watched them the other night against the Lakers. Philly's no joke, man. Embiid is playing amazing. Simmons,
but Doc Rivers is going to mess that up. He's going to do something stupid, and he's going to mess that up.
He's blown three.
He always does.
Yeah, that's true. Well, although I was about to say, though, I will defend Doc Rivers on this one thing. The Clippers are still having the same kind of chemistry issues that they had last year.
Oh, because he wasn't the problem. He's just the scapegoat.
No.
He's the scapegoat.
Coach always is the scapegoat.
We all know who the problem is there.
Yeah, of course. Kawhi, Paul George.
Just Kawhi Leonard, I think.
Okay. Yep. So who do you believe the MVP frontrunner is today? Because, man, there are some guys playing out of their minds right now.
I mean, Joel Embiid is playing really good. I got to put my guy LeBron in there, man. I mean, he's playing pretty. I mean, Steph Curry. I will give the Warriors credit. I know they're not like having like the greatest season of all time, but he's literally carrying this team. Like,
yes,
literally. Like, if you saw him on the street, you'd be like, "Hey, man, what's on your back?" He'll probably be like, "Oh, it's just the Warriors," because he's literally carrying this team. But I like LeBron. I like Steph Curry. Joel Embiid is playing really, really, really good. And if I had to add anybody else, I'd probably say
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. Yeah, of course.
KD's averaging 30. He's like 37-6. I mean, he's having an incredible season with Brooklyn this year.
Yeah, those are top four for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the fact that LeBron is still, he never ceases to amaze me. He is the greatest. He's in better shape, I think, than any athlete we've probably ever seen. I mean, year 18, he's 30.
Him and Brady.
Brady, yeah, right. I mean, the fact that he's in the stage of his career and still playing unbelievable this year. We got another question from Barry Grant Jr. He says, "Do you guys think Anthony Davis is pressing? Are you concerned?" AD's not. He's gotten off to a shaky start this year. I don't know what's up with him.
I don't know what's going on with him. Is he dating one of those twins from Vegas still? But I don't know. But he'll be fine. He's a professional. He's probably just got to get into the rhythm. I mean, he's working back there with Gasol. There's some other new pieces back there. Offensively, I never worry about him with that. He'll get going. He'll get going because he's so skillful. At some point, it's going to click. Now, if he was just completely like not scoring at all, unless he has some type of nagging injury, I think he'll be fine. And I think LeBron and the rest of that team, they're pretty savvy enough. They'll be able to carry him until he's ready to go. So yeah, I know. Me, Barry, and I are like super Laker fans. So
right, right. Well, yeah, I think, and again, it goes back to LeBron's conditioning. The whole Lakers team, and I know there's some new guys, Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Gasol, but I think part of the issue with Anthony Davis is kind of what we've seen a little bit with the Miami Heat. The Heat have gotten off to an awful start. I think getting a 2-month off season is a huge disadvantage.
It is.
And so it's right.
It is what it is.
To your point about Steph Curry, I'm a huge Warriors fan, and I've watched pretty much every game this year. And
he's just carrying them. I mean, literally.
Yeah,
he has to.
Yeah, of course.
Now, if Clay comes, when Clay comes back, and if they can keep guys like Oubre and stuff like that, they'll be pretty good again. Still, man, they'll be pretty decent. Wiseman's coming along. I think he just dropped like his career high a few nights ago.
I like Wiseman a lot.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're a talented team. My man Ryan Flowers, right here, carving up live. Appreciate you joining the show, man.
Absolutely, man. We'll see you next time, boss.
All right, see you. All right, that was Ryan Flowers from Clutch Sports Talk. Go check out his show. I know he's having some technical issues right now, so you just follow him on social media, and I'm sure he'll have those issues resolved soon. He's got a great show, and he's a great dude as well. So let's talk about a guy who I've been kind of critical of, Baker Mayfield. I thought he had a really good season with Cleveland last year. I look at what he did with the new coach, Kevin Stefanski. I still have questions about them defensively. Myles Garrett kind of carried the pass rush this season. But my biggest issue with Baker, and I thought he kind of had this resolved this year. I thought he was improving, but we saw again. So there was a Cleveland Browns, we see fan accounts with all these teams. There was like a Cleveland Browns like fan account that was basically saying, hey, we need to trade Baker for Deshaun Watson. Now, obviously, clearly Deshaun Watson is a much better player than Baker Mayfield. But social media, he's saying, man, y'all call yourselves Browns fans, you're not loyal. We've seen this time and time again with Baker Mayfield, is letting the stuff get to his head. We saw in 2019, right? He's cocky. We're Super Bowl contenders. He was taking shots at a backup running back who was requesting a trade. He was taking shots at his own teammates, and the Browns were a train wreck in 2019, as I predicted before the season. This is why you see all these different teams, right? You see the Ravens, even though they lost in the playoffs to the Bills, you see, Lamar really, really struggled against Buffalo, who doesn't have like a top tier defense. The Ravens, if you ask them today, you ask John Harbaugh, you ask the general manager of the team, you ask Steve Bisciotti, the owner, they're like, oh yeah, we're keeping Lamar Jackson. We're signing Lamar Jackson to a long-term deal because he's a winner. He gets it done for us. But you look at Baker. You ask the Browns about whether he's the long-term guy, and they're still just a little shaky on it. We're not quite sure if he's the guy. My belief is Baker was obviously the first overall pick in the draft. My thing is go opt into the team option, the 5th-year option that is obviously always in a rookie deal, and let it play out. Give him 2 seasons, making rookie quarterback money, gives you the opportunity to really play with the cap, sign some great defensive players, draft well, and you'll only have an opportunity to be a successful football team. And if they can build a team, they've got the coach. I mean, the Browns have not been in the playoffs in almost 2 decades. Kevin Stefanski comes in first year, pandemic, it doesn't matter. They go to the playoffs. And you obviously have Myles Garrett, who's one of the 4 or 5 best defensive players in the National Football League. He's as good as it gets. He's an unbelievable pass rusher, second best defensive lineman, in my opinion, to Aaron Donald, who's incredible. But we see once again, we saw some games this year where Cleveland won, but it was about their running game, let's be honest. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, even the 3rd-string running back was good. They are a running football team. And speaking of Kevin Stefanski, who's obviously the head coach there, we're seeing with him what I think we saw with him in Minnesota when he was the offensive coordinator there, is you have Kirk Cousins, right? Everybody likes Kirk Cousins. Well, not everybody. Some people like. I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan. Time and time again, he's come up short when he's had the opportunity to make big plays. But I remember Kirk Cousins had one game last season in 2019 when Kevin Stefanski was Minnesota's offensive coordinator, where he threw the ball like 10 times. Well, because it was the Dalvin Cook show, right? He's amazing running back, amazing running game in Minnesota. And so I think we're seeing the same situation in Cleveland. You've got a quarterback that the organization still isn't bought into, right? Like, how Cleveland is, right? You know that once they get like one guy that's even decent, they're like, here we go. We're going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to do all these different things. And they got Baker. They got to the playoffs. They beat the hated Pittsburgh Steelers. Cleveland is historically terrible in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. And they go to the playoffs, go to Heinz Field. The Steelers are the division champs, and they just kick their behinds. Go to Kansas City, and Pat Mahomes gets hurt. And we're thinking, oh boy, man, if Cleveland ever had a better opportunity than this, and they go away from their running game, which I didn't understand why Kevin Stefanski did that. I had issues with that. But they go away from their running game. They're like, Baker, we're going to put the game in your hands. There's no Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to go toe-to-toe with the greatest in the NFL today. You get to go toe-to-toe with Chad Henne. And so Baker gets the ball back. They're down 5 with like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, I believe. And he gets 1 first down. Franchise quarterbacks get it done for you. When you're going against the backup for another team, and I get it, it's Andy Reid. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, who, of course, got big stops when they had to. And Andy Reid with the most gutsy call I've ever seen in a playoff game since probably the Philly special in Super Bowl 52 with Doug Peterson. It's just, gutsy is the best word to use. But we've seen time and time again with Baker Mayfield getting involved with the media. We see, he has like the biggest rivalry in the world with FS1's Colin Cowherd. He takes shots at him on Twitter. He goes after fan accounts, right? These are Browns fans, right? These are the dog pound. These are your guys. And you're going after them. Baker Mayfield knows deep down. I get it. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's a walk-on in Oklahoma. But he knows deep down, Deshaun's a different dude. Deshaun is hey, listen, I'm good. I know Baker in his heart of hearts, he thinks, man, I'm good. But Deshaun's like, man, he's different. He's a different quarterback. And I just think Cleveland, if I were the Cleveland Browns today, I say, okay, you know what, Baker, we're not going to put you under the pressure of having to, like this being your last year on your rookie deal where you have to win and play well. If you do, you get your money. If you don't, we're going to move on from you. I think go ahead this offseason, opt into the 5th-year deal because he was a first-round pick, so you get that with first-round picks. Opt into the 5th year of his rookie contract and say, Baker, we're giving you 2 years. Okay, we're giving you 2 years. Hopefully by next season and certainly by the 2022 season, this pandemic will be hopefully behind us and hopefully not affecting the NFL in any way, shape, or form. And we're going to build a team around you. We're going to draft well. We're going to pay big money to stars, especially in the defensive end. We may even give you a star receiver. Who knows? But you got to get it done for us. And if you're not, we got to move on from you. We've got the coach. We've got the running game. We've got the receivers. The defense could use some work, but we've got the star defensive player, Myles Garrett, right? Who can get to, through any offensive line, right? And so I just, this is what drives me crazy about Baker Mayfield. And it's similar in the NBA to a slightly lesser degree, Kevin Durant, who, as controversial as this may sound to some people, I think is the best player on the planet today. I think LeBron's number 2, but KD's number 1 right now. And my issue with KD is he's going after dudes on Twitter, guys my age just say some crap on Twitter and he responds to them. And it's like, dude, you're Kevin Durant. You're one of the greatest basketball players ever. You're one of the 2 or 3 greatest scorers ever. Don't worry about Joe Blow in South Dakota. Who cares? And so this is what we see from Baker again. He's going after his own. We saw him criticize the medical staff last year because there were some questions about how they were handling the Odell Beckham thing. So, and he took shots at his own medical staff. So, I mean, these are the guys that keep you healthy during the season, and you're like going after them. Like, what are you doing? And it drives me crazy with him. Is he talented? Pretty talented. He's certainly accurate at his best, but this is what drives me absolutely crazy with Baker Mayfield. And he's got to get a hold on this. We've seen, it's not a great look when you're on the Progressive commercials and you're not performing, because we see, Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes on the State Farm commercials, right? And then you're watching a Packers game, you're watching a Chiefs game. You see Pat Mahomes with Jake from State Farm. You see Aaron Rodgers with Jake from State Farm. They come back and they're both balling out. You see Dak Prescott with Sleep Number, right? You see star players with these different endorsements, and they're balling. And Baker is up and down, up and down, up and down. You can't trust him on a consistent basis. And so, I just, you got to have an emotionally stable quarterback. And I don't think they have that in Cleveland. If he were having these issues where he's going after people, but he's throwing for 4,500 yards and 35 plus touchdowns and not turning the ball over, and you're winning the division year after year. Okay. I don't love it. It would certainly hurt you when I was negotiating with you to sign you to a long-term contract. But my belief is this: if I were a general manager or an owner, my belief is as long as you're doing nothing illegal away from the field or away from the court or away from the baseball field or the ice, as long as you're doing nothing illegal or something that's going to hurt the team, it's your business. But certainly you prefer your quarterback be more, I don't want to say like a robot, like Kawhi Leonard or something, or Tom Brady was almost robotic in New England, right? But I'm okay with him showing his personality. Matter of fact, I want him to show his personality. But if you're going after people on social media, Browns fans, you're going after your own fans, you're going after your own medical staff, you're going after random people in the media, that's not a good look for a franchise that looks to really be turning it around in Northeast Ohio. So that is all the time we have for today's show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to catch Carving It Up on Monday, as always, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the Madden Pro Bowl or whatever it is, because we're not going to have the Pro Bowl this year. Thank God the Pro Bowl is incredibly boring, but they're going to play it on Madden. I'd actually probably rather watch that than the Pro Bowl. But that should be interesting. A lot of other sports going on over the weekend, and Super Bowl week starts next week. Going to have some good guests on the show then. So God bless you all, and peace out.